Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition. For tonight headlines, we have Prime Minister chairs the first edition of Forum FinTech in Djibouti. For the international scene, USA major voters will formalize Joe Biden's victory. Welcome to our newsroom. Under the high patronage of Prime Minister His Excellency Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, the Minister of Communication in charge of postal communication, has this morning organized, in close collaboration with Djibouti Telecom, Steed and D-Money at Djibouti Palace Campus Key, the first edition of Djibouti FinTech Forum. The event aims to bring together over 3 days leaders of financial institutions, banks, insurance companies, regulatory bodies, entrepreneurs and students to promote the digital economy by putting financial technology at the heart of the country's development policies and strategies. It is a high-end event focused on digital finance that is part of the Africa FinTech Forum Towers launched in 2017 and which aims to provide a platform for discussion and exchange on the promotions of FinTech in Djibouti and to build a strong FinTech ecosystem through capacity buildings among key stakeholders. It is clear that in the post-COVID-19 world where digital technology are expected to play an even more decisive role, the Republic of Djibouti intends to give free rein to its ambition to succeed in its digital transformations for a more promising economic impetus. Let us recall that the colorful initiative also allows our country to maintain its position as the hub of East Africa as indicated in the Djibouti Vision 2035. The Minister of Communication, member of the government, national representative, heads of banking and financial institutions, entrepreneurs and students participate in the event. The General Manager of Djibouti Telecom, Mohamed Assoui Bouh, for his part, has indicated the importance of this event in the national level. Listen for more detail.
Pour moi, un immense plaisir de participer à cette cérémonie d'ouverture.
It is for me a great pleasure to participate in this opening ceremony of the first forum of FinTech in Djibouti. It is also an honor to have contributed to this important and special event in several ways. First, these forums were organized in such a special context, marked by the crisis of COVID-19, which has affected all countries of the world, strongly impacting our daily lives and focusing us to radically change our lifestyles. This unprecedented situation is combined with the new reality that we all face as users, companies, administrations, and regulators. We live this reality every day. The digital transformation is spreading across all sectors of activity. It is breaking down barriers and redesigning new value chains. Excellency, Mr. Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, it is this same reality that gave birth to FinTech, technology at the surface of finance. FinTech is structured around 3 main axes. The first is the telecommunication infrastructure to ensure enriched connectivity. The second will be a talent management by developing the skills needed to innovate new services too. Finally, the third is regulation to facilitate the emergence of a digital ecosystem and support the development of the sector.
The Governor of the Central Bank, Ahmed Osman, for his part, congratulated all the organizers of this beautiful day. Listen to this report.
Ministre, Mesdames et Messieurs, le forum qui nous réunira ici pendant 3 jours.
Excellency the Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, the forum that will bring us together here for 3 days will provide us with a fertile forum for exchange to better understand the issues, challenges and perspectives related to FinTech, which is revolutionizing and upsetting our lives, our contribution, and in many sectors, the work environment. As you all know, the FinTech industry is booming all over the world and introducing, particularly in Africa, a real revolution. It is developing rapidly because with the prioritization of mobile technologies and digitalization, many opportunities have been created in various sectors of activity, particularly in the financial sector. Indeed, while fintech is affecting more and more sectors, it is above all a new tool for the development of activities in the financial system. As you know, fintech can be broken down into applications, product processors, or business models composed of one or more complementary financial services that provide an end-to-end management channel via the internet. It covers all areas from savings management for individuals to corporate finance or online payments. These companies are often startups, compete with the world's financial institutions with their innovative technologies, and make finance simpler and more accessible by offering adapted and less expensive services. Thus, for our continent, characterized in part by a low rate of banking, fintech promotes and revolutionizes financial inclusion with the digital identifiers and the various ballot of payments you see around the world.
The Minister of Communication, Radwan Abdullahi Bahdoun, has for his part indicated the government policy to develop ICT area in Djibouti. Listen to this report.
C'est un réel plaisir d'être parmi vous ce matin.
It is a real pleasure to be with you this morning on the occasion of the opening ceremony of the Djiboutian Fintech Forum, which is the main event of the fintech industry in the Francophone Africa. It was also an honor for us to host this meeting for the first time in Djibouti. The impact of digital technology on our economy is now undeniable. It has just transferred the traditional models and systems that we have known for many years. The development and continued growth of our country will not be possible in the future without the support of new technologies. The COVID-19 pandemic this year highlighted the fundamental role that the information and communication technologies play in our economies and societies around the world, and showed the world that we will only be able to take full advantage of ICTs if we are all connected on our continent. With the majority of our population using cell phones, it is the most widespread telecommunications tool. However, with the advent of ICTs and the internet, the mobile is now being used to facilitate financial inclusion through the development of mobile payment and the creation of electronic wallets. This profound movement is in our economy also have an impact in the work of finance. In this sense, banks and traditional banking systems are changing with the arrival of the new models integrating ICTs. These tools need to be fully integrated into the banking and financial environment to foster the emergence of new services and, above all, to ensure that our populations have access to banking services.
The Prime Minister, His Excellency Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, has for his part indicated the commitment of our policy to organize this great journey in Djibouti. Listen to the Prime Minister.
C'est pour moi un honneur de vous accueillir dans notre pays pour la cérémonie d'ouverture du Forum FinTech de Djibouti.
It is an honor for me to welcome you to our country for the opening ceremony of the FinTech Forum of Djibouti. I welcome all participants and especially those coming to Djibouti for the first time. The digital impact on our economy will be now unavoidable. The President of the Republic has decided to make in the field of telecommunications a leap comparable to what we have seen in the development of our ports and our free zones. The new technologies will be in the future a new support for economic and social development of the country. But in this area, the competition will be tough and the national operator must adapt to it. The digital company will bring new jobs and new revenues. These innovations will enable financial inclusion. This will also have an effect of lifting part of the population out of poverty. Indeed, the actors of the fintech will also allow the transaction of the informal sector. Fintech startups are growing strongly on the African continent and the government supports the development. As stressed by the Minister of Communication, but if the traditional banks have some shortcomings in these areas, I took this opportunity to ask them to also adapt to the African market, where there are many more people with telephones than those with bank accounts. The central bank has an important role to play in solving these problems. I will also draw your attention to the need to take costs into account, because small transactions are relatively penalized. This means that the poorest are correspondingly more disadvantaged. All your discussions and reflections will be very useful for all those interested in financial circuits and new technologies.
Following the execution of the state's public accounts for the financial year 2019, the Finance General Economy and Planning Commissions began reviewing the provisions of the PA 2021 on 14 December 2020, conducted under the chairmanship of Honorable Sharmakke Musa Arre. This work, which saw the presence and participation of many members of parliament, members of non-members of the commission, took place under the guidance of the Minister of Budget, His Excellency Abdul Karim Aden Chair, surrounded by officials of this department. After a preliminary discussion provided, the committee intends to continue this Wednesday and Thursday the legislative studies and plans to hear various ministerial department recipients of funds under the state budget for 2021. The French Secretary of State to the Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs in charge of tourism, French abroad and Francophonie, Mr. Jean-Baptiste Lemonim, has been on a 48-hour working visit to Djibouti. Since yesterday, he was received yesterday by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, government spokesman Mahmoud Ali Youssouf. The French Secretary of State was accompanied by the French ambassador to Djibouti, Mr. Arnaud Guillois, and his main collaborators. On the Djiboutian side, the meeting was attended by the ambassador of Djibouti to France, Mr. Aid Moussaad, and senior officials of the ministries, including the Secretary General, Mr. Mohamed Ali Hassan, the Director of Bilateral Relations, Yassin Hussein Douale, and the Director of Communication, Musa Mohamed Omar. The meeting between the two men took place in a climate of trust and covered several subjects of common interest. At the bilateral level, they welcome the historical, secular, and special relations that exist between our two countries. Together, they explore ways and means of further strengthening them, in particular through strategic dialogue and exchanges of high-level visits during which all subjects of mutual interest would be raised, military and economic relations, regional and international issues. This meeting also enabled the head of state of the Djiboutian diplomacy to explain to his host the approach of the Djiboutian diplomacy to the major regional challenges. The Secretary of State for Youth and Sports today received in his office a delegation led by the new Japanese ambassador to Djibouti, Mr. Otsuka Umiyu, accompanied by the representative of the United Nations system, Barbara Manzi, and UNOPS Rosella Monti thanked the Secretary of State for his warm welcome and spoke of the strong ties of cooperation and fraternity between our two brotherly and friendly countries. An opportunity seized by His Excellency Hassan Mohammed Kamil to brief the new ambassador on all ongoing and future projects to support the development of Djiboutian youth, particularly in the renovations of sports and youth development structure. At the end of the meeting, both parties agreed to work together and to strengthen this privileged relation for the benefit of the youth. The DMP Dorale multipurpose port has accosted this morning the second ship of the Djibouti shipping company, Carla, which comes from Turkey, with on board some 462 containers, of which 182 will be transshipped in the countries of the region as the Somali, while the rest will be delivered to Djibouti in the presence of the commercial directors of the DMP, Ms. Habon Abdurrahman Shar, the director of the Djibouti Shipping Company, and the director of operation of DMP, Mr. Idris Duhura.
Ports and the Djibouti. This is our third voyage coming here, and our chartering continuously from Turkey to here. We are so happy. We found this country is very friendly. Thank you very much for everything. Thank you very much for everybody.
On Monday, 14 December, a partnership agreement signed between ceremony took place between ANPH and Swift Finance Ltd Djibouti. The general directors of the National Agency for Disabled Persons, Mr. Douale Saeed Mahamoud, signed a partnership agreement with Swift Finance Ltd Djibouti, represented by Mr. Abdurrahman Abdi. Swift Finance Limited is a company registered in England and Wales. Swift Finance Limited is committed to taking part in the development, promotion and protection of the rights of people with special needs in the Republic of Djibouti. The ceremony ended with the family photo, which you will find below. The Director General of the National Disabled Person, Mr. Douale Saeed Mahamoud, said it is a great pleasure for me that today we have gathered at the signing ceremony of the partnership agreement between NPH and the Swift Finance Ltd Djibouti. This initiative will promote the rights of children with special needs and persons with disabilities. The National Agency for the Disabled has strengthened the condition of the rights of people with special needs, especially children. The director of NPH thanked the SWIFT company for the convention which took part in the development, promotion and protection of the rights of people with special needs. The National Union of Women of Djibouti and the Minister of Women and Family yesterday organized an awareness sessions for students of the industrial and commercial high school and on gender-based violence, including female genital mutilation. This sensitization discussion aims to reduce the violence that women suffer, and this is part of the sensitization activities that will take place during 16 days in the countries on gender-based violence. The coordination of the UNFD Information and Orientation Listening Centers, Mr. Saharla Hassan Ali, explained to the participating students the importance of protecting citizens against violence, especially women, and the vast project that the National Union of the Djiboutian Women is carrying out, and its role is supporting women in all aspects of women affairs. The aim of this campaign is to make people aware of the fact that violence against women leaves social and psychological stigma that are sometimes irreparable, with dramatic consequences for sustainable development. We have just learned of the death of Mr. Hussein Muhammad Ahmed, known under the nickname of Komandoro, which occurred last night in Bisiduru in the region of Obok. The deceased was born in 1945 in Sidi Hamengela, and in Obok regions he leaves behind him a widow and 4 children and a dozen of grandchildren. Hussein Muhammad was an early activist for the cause of freedoms and independence of these countries, high-ranking officers of Fruit Party. Following the death of Mr. Hussein Muhammad Ahmed, known under the nickname of Komandoro, which occurred last night in Bisiduru, the Sultan of Rahaito, Abdul Qadir Dawood, by the names of the representative of Sultan in Obok, Abdul Dawood, addresses this sincere condolence to the families of the deceased. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. For the international scene, the electorate should confirm Monday the victory of Democrat Joe Biden in the U.S. presidential election, while Donald Trump still refuses to admit defeat. Composed of elected officials, politicians, and supporters, the Electoral College, which currently has 438 electors, will meet to approve the results of the November 3 presidential election. This is an administrative formality, and it is rare to the elections to disagree with the vote registered in their states. And according to the final results, Joe Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris are the winners with more than 7 million votes and a projected margins of 306 votes for Joe Biden, well over the 2,070 votes needed against 232 votes for Donald Trump. But the current tenants of the White House does not hear it this way and continues to cry election fraud, citing massive fraud without providing proof of it. Trump and his allies have launched some 15 complaints across the countries and put pressures on the authority responsible for the vote count. And this is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.